Welcome to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, bringing baby boomers proven strategies and innovative products for getting fit, staying fit, so you can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Here's your host, best-selling author and fitness advocate, Phil Ferris.
This is Phil Ferris, and welcome to our show. Never Too Late for Fitness Radio provides answers and straight talk about fitness, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles for people over 50. Our goal is to educate and advocate health and fitness strategies that help you live a longer, healthier, and happier life. If you're over 40 and you're not satisfied with the quality of your life because of how you look, how you move, or you feel, you'll want to listen to my guest today. Andy Zagami is an author, personal trainer, and nutritional therapist from Melbourne, Australia. He is here today to share his knowledge, experience, and passion for helping people achieve the best health of their lives. Andy has used the challenges he's faced earlier in his life to create a blueprint for helping his clients improve their health and their fitness. Within a week of birth, Andy had to undergo life-threatening brain surgery. At the age of 21, Andy was diagnosed with cancer, which subsequently required chemotherapy and multiple surgeries. In the years that followed, he took his health into his own hands with the realization that there are alternative methods to treating yourself instead of relying on chemicals and medicines. Throughout his treatment, Andy never stopped training clients simply because of his love of what he does. He now aims to help as many people as possible to have the best health of their lives, whether it's to prevent a disease or reverse the side effects, whether they be physical or psychological. In recent years, Andy has continued his studies to better understand the human body. He now shares his knowledge through speaking events, his book, Unbreakable, and online training programs designed to help you create your unbreakable life. Thank you, Andy, for being on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me, Phil. Always a pleasure to have a chat with somebody, especially from the other side of the world. Great.
This is interesting. We're a day apart. That's Monday night in Chicago, and it's early morning in Australia. So now, Andy, you tend to attract a very specific kind of client. Can you talk about the types of people you work with and the challenges that they're facing that cause them to seek you out?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think primarily the clients that I attract, they come to me specifically wanting to lose weight. But then that's not what it's about at all, really. Majority of them end up coming to me because of some form of mobility issue, which I never thought would be something that I would be focusing on. But, I love it. It's being able to help somebody be able to move better throughout their day and just feel fitter, stronger, however that is, just in their daily activities. It's actually been a very rewarding journey so far. So I'm really loving it.
Okay. So you say mobility issues. Can you be a little more specific, maybe give an example so people understand what you mean by mobility?
Yeah, sure, of course. So I guess majority of my clients, most of them are probably over 60 at this point. And simple things like getting in and out of their chair or, having the confidence to step in and out of their car. They want to be able to have the balance to be able to step one foot out to the side and then stand up out of their car without having to worry about, holding on to two things with their arms and however that goes. And then the simple thing of getting in and out of your chair every day. I know for certain that I never really thought too much about that before I was diagnosed with all my stuff, which we'll probably get into at some point. But, we don't often really think how hard it could be for some people to get in and out of the chair. So if I can help them do that, great, job done.
And you mentioned the fact that simple things like day-to-day activities and getting up and down stairs, in and out of cars, going to work, going shopping, most of us can take that for granted. But when you don't have it, when you can't do it, or you're afraid you can't do it, it has an impact on you emotionally as well as physically. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how people, because most people don't just say, well, gee, I want to learn how to get out of a car. How do they present themselves? How do they talk about the issues they're dealing with?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. it's certainly something that doesn't come up straight away. One client in particular that I'm thinking of, he's had hip issues for as long as he can remember. He had an accident when he was young, and he's always had issues with walking, let alone, taking a side step to get out of the car, for example. It was something he was never really comfortable talking about, other than saying he had issues with his legs. And I could tell that he left it at that. So I was like, okay, let's strengthen your legs and just work on you feeling comfortable. And then we'll go from there. And he was perfectly happy with that. In the process, week after week, he came in saying that he was feeling fitter, feeling better about himself. And just gradually there were these little stories coming out of what he was being able to achieve. The fact that he spent 5 minutes walking down to the shops, which he had never been able to do before, or comfortably walking up the stairs in the shopping centre, things like that. It just built up from there, and I was just really inspired by him and how he took it into his own hands. Sure, I mean, I was helping him along the way, but at the end of the day, I was just his guide. He put in the work. He built his body back up, and today, almost a year later, he's almost fixed his not fixed his issue, but he's certainly a lot more confident and a lot more active today than he was back before we started.
Okay, and those are, I mean, for some people, it's training for a marathon or training for a 5K, and for others, it's learning these, getting the ability to win the game of life can be just as rewarding, because it's that I can do this again.
That's exactly right.
And you don't appreciate it until you've lost it. And
correct.
You have your stories of issues, health issues, and I have mine, and they become, they really turn your world upside down when you can't do the things you used to be able to do. So tell us a little bit about what you do to help people regain their mobility.
Well, okay, if I use this same client as an example, so when he came to me, for him to sit down in his chair and stand up was, I mean, he could do it, but he would use his arm, he'd use his hands to push up out of the chair. So we started just working on some basic leg strength. So it'll be interesting trying to explain this to see if it makes sense. But a couple of exercises that we do. So, let's say you're standing up against the wall, just however you need to hold onto the wall for a bit of balance, and just lifting your leg straight out to the side, keeping it straight and just lifting it up as high as you can. So I get them to lift it out to the side and then lift their leg out to the front as well. And what I've found is that just really helps them build good upper leg strength, so quad strength, and a little bit of hip strength as well. And then even working on little things, so not necessarily doing a full lunge where you would move forward, or step forward, I should say, but even just getting them to step a little further than what they would do in a normal walking step, while they're holding onto some supports. And then, gradually increasing that, or even taking a side step, wider than just your standard kind of standing leg width, and just gradually increasing that, which I've seen has just helped them feel more stable when they're standing, and especially when they start walking. When they've built that strength up a little bit more, you can just see it in their step. They start walking with more strength and more confidence.
So tell me a little about how when they start getting that bounce back in their step, and they have that more confidence in their ability to move and execute and do things, how does that affect other parts of their body and their personality?
The biggest thing that I started seeing was that he came in happier. It was like he was really, he was proud of his achievements. So he would walk in, not necessarily shoulders completely back or anything, but he was certainly standing more upright, probably because he could actually support his body better. He'd have a nice smile on his face, and he just generally walked around just had that confident look about himself, which is a complete 180 compared to where he was 9 months ago. That was the biggest shift. But then beyond that as well, the place where he lives, there's a stack of residents there that I train as well. And even they all noticed, just in the way that he has conversations with them, he just generally seemed like a much more confident and happy person, and more relaxed. He seemed to, it was like he got something lifted off his shoulders effectively, and he was just a much calmer person as well. I feel like I'm just throwing out all these adjectives, but that just explains him. He just became a totally different person.
I can appreciate that because I've seen that happen with our clients as well, and it just and it is a confidence factor just in terms of how they carry themselves. Someone that did not be able to move, and all of a sudden now they're moving well, maybe even able to dance or to be able to do things that they haven't done in years, and all of a sudden it makes them feel more complete as a person.
Absolutely right.
And that's a phenomenal gift to give someone because they've got 10, 20, 30 years left in front of them when you're talking about people's in 50 and 60. And those can either be spent with a walker and a cane, or they can make upright and moving and doing the things you want to do. And you're able to give them that mobility and that confidence to do those things. So they're not stuck inside their body.
Yep, absolutely right.
Now, there are countless of people over 40 and 50 out there that would love to achieve the fitness goals that your clients experience, but they don't. They don't take the action. So what's the biggest obstacles holding them back, and how do you help them overcome them?
I would have to say the biggest thing that I come across, you can use any excuse in the book, and I know you've heard all the same ones that I've heard over the years. The biggest thing I believe would have to be self-belief. At the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself that you can achieve it, no one on the planet is going to be able to help you. And that's the biggest thing. So when clients come into me and I can just see that, in the way that they're talking to me, in their posture, that they just don't think it's going to happen, they're the clients that don't get results. We can give them all the tools in the world. I can't physically do it for them because they need to do it, but I can give them the tools and show them how. If they don't believe in themselves, then, we're not going to go past stage one. I like to try and swing that around a little bit and just help them realize that they can achieve anything they put their mind to, and I just treat it as baby steps. They may like the idea of this big overall goal, whatever that may be, but they don't believe they can do it because it's so far away. Okay, great. Let's forget that massive goal for now. What's one tiny little thing that we can achieve over the next, month, let's say? I've found that's much more tangible for clients to go, okay, we've got a month here. This is what we need to do. Break it down from there. What needs to happen every week? What do we need to do every day, or at least 2 or 3 times a week? And I just find those little steps much easier to attain for them to then lead on to their bigger goal. And then, that self-doubt that they came in with disappears very quickly.
Okay, so what do you think it is about your approach and your personality that allows you to get through the clients that others can't?
I'm sure it's not that others can't. I don't think for a second that I'm the one that has the only answer or the best answer by any means. I guess when I can, and I hate comparing, but if I look at other trainers, in my area, or just, some of my friends, I know for a fact that none of them have been through what I've been through. So when it comes to dealing with mobility issues specifically, I got to a point where I was in hospital and I quite literally had to learn to walk again. So from that point of view, I can completely relate with clients because I know what it's like to lose the ability to be able to move. So I guess my own personal experience there certainly helps translate into helping clients because I understand the pain and frustration.
Okay, so
compared to just going, oh yeah, this is my knowledge because I read it in a textbook. Here's how you fix it.
Right, and the So maybe it'd be appropriate now to tell a little about what you went through, how you overcame it, and how you've been able to take what you went through to help you reach out to your clients and help them in ways that perhaps others can't as readily.
Sure. Probably won't tell you the whole story because that might take a little while, and I'm sure we don't have all day. But so you mentioned in my introduction that I had cancer. So I ended up having cancer 3 times. First when I was 21, when I was 25, and then around my 26th birthday. And after my first diagnosis, they basically cut all the way down my stomach, from my ribs all the way down. And what that did was, firstly, ripped apart any kind of core muscle that I had. But also I just found it really difficult to move my legs because my core had been shot after, I grew up as a gymnast as well. So I was a pretty strong kid. So to go from, being a gymnast and strong and all the rest to then being able to learn to walk again, it was just a totally new experience for me. And I was starting from scratch. So I had to slowly rebuild my body again. And, it was literally one step at a time, because after my surgery, I could barely walk half a meter before I had to sit down. Like I took 1.5 steps, I remember, to the chair in front of me, in front of the bed, and I collapsed in it and started crying. So, that in itself took months of rehab and walking again, and eventually getting to the point where I could lift my leg, not just stepping forward, but actually lift it in front of me again. And so I just created my own program to get my body mobile. So at this point, it wasn't just my legs, it was my entire upper body as well had been, really neglected from not doing any workouts and barely moving because I'd spent so much time in bed. So I just had to move my body, and it really was as simple as lifting my leg out to the side or lifting my arms up over my head in any direction I could, holding my arms out to the side and twisting my wrists forwards and backwards. Just little seemingly simple things like that is all I did to begin with, just to almost help blood flow through my body properly. And it felt like it was helping lubricate my joints. And then, over, I think it ended up being 3-4 months where I finally started feeling somewhat normal again, before I got back into some training. But even then, it was still just body weight work, just because that was what I was so used to doing growing up. I just wanted to get my body to feel that feeling again, rather than just going straight into the gym and pushing weights, which, just didn't seem like the right move to start off with. I feel like I went on a bit of a tangent. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that did. And then, but after you recovered from the first cancer bout, then you had 2 others. Did you have to go through a similar rehab? Maybe not as severe, but you have to go through a rehab again?
It definitely wasn't. It wasn't quite as severe. The second time around so the cancer had spread to my lung. So I had part of my lung chopped out. And the only rehab from that was more just kind of getting comfortable breathing, because I just didn't have the same lung capacity. So it just took my body a little bit to get used to that. Like I would walk, and this is one thing that I could always relate to clients after this, was that after that surgery, to walk up my stairs, I'd be completely out of breath.
Okay.
And that was something I'd never experienced before. So to experience that at least gave me some insight to clients with similar issues who would struggle walking upstairs, typically for being overweight, but at least I could relate in that sense. So from there, then there was another couple of surgeries, more lung was removed. So yeah, similar again, just, getting my body used to breathing in a different way again, and then just building my cardio back up so that it felt normal, whatever normal is. But, so yeah, the first surgery was definitely the harder recovery, that's for sure.
Right. Now, you took all those experiences and your desire to help others in your training in gymnastics, and then started training people. But in your program, besides exercise, your programs also involve nutrition and mindset. Can you explain why those other elements are equally important to achieving goals?
Well, again, using myself as the perfect example of why I knew more than anything that it was important. Recovering from all my stuff was, sure, it was, I had to get physically moving, so there's your exercise component. But my mind was in such a dark place that I had so much work to do to bring myself back to reality. And I just realized how much I'd misunderstood that with clients before that point, just thinking, oh yeah, let's just go and train, do some exercise. Here's a healthy eating plan. I didn't really know anything about nutrition before that point. And I just assumed with clients that'll be fine, that's all they need. And I never really considered the mindset side of it. But once I was put through all that and realized where I was, I thought, okay, right, if this is how I'm feeling, I'm sure clients are probably, got some kind of similar mindset. So how can I help my clients? And that's when I started studying, neuro-linguistic programming and just certain mindset techniques to help people day to day.
So can you give an example of how you help people overcome limiting beliefs and mindset issues that kind of help them make breakthroughs?
One of the biggest and simplest things that I get clients to do is to write a gratitude journal. It probably has nothing to do with overcoming limiting beliefs, but it's amazing how many times I've had clients do that and inadvertently it's helped them get over those beliefs. I always get them to write what they're grateful for within themselves, with their family, and with their work environment. And it's always been really fascinating what they come up with. For all three, for sure, but more importantly, what they come up with for themselves, because what they end up being grateful for within themselves ultimately counteracts that limiting belief. And it's almost like that limiting belief just disappears. It's not as simple as it just vanishing, obviously. Right. But what I've seen is that it seems to be, it's almost like an unconscious way of just banishing that belief. And sometimes that happens really quickly. Sometimes it takes a few months. However long it takes, we get there. The majority of the times we get there in the end. And the amount of conversations I've had, several months down the track after they've started that process, and I bring up that limiting belief, clients often have forgotten about that belief in the first place. They look at me and they go, oh yeah, I used to think that. Now, no, it's completely gone from their mind. It's like they're a completely different person.
Okay. So what about the nutritional element of your programs? So
again, before all my treatment, I was never really into nutrition that much. I used to be the type, so with my gymnastics, I used to train about 30 hours a week. And so I could eat whatever I wanted and, my body I was fine. Eating machine, basically. So I never really thought about it beyond that. It was great. And after all my treatment, I actually got to a point where I physically couldn't eat any food. Everything I ate made me sick. So I had to start from scratch and I had to work out what foods agreed with me and what foods I had to get rid of. So from there, obviously, I got into a whole bunch of research and just finding out which foods firstly, what foods agreed with me and what I found healthy. And it all just grew from there. I got into the alkaline lifestyle, which evolved quite a bit into just more kind of plant-based eating, and just all the research I saw from how plant-based eating can either reverse or certainly help a lot of different diseases just really fascinated me. And so that's one of the biggest things that I do with clients now, where we go through this nutritional deficiency survey where I can see where my clients may be deficient in certain nutrients based on, whatever symptoms they might be noticing. And then we just start incorporating more foods based on those nutrients. And then, we'll retest again in a month, in 3 months, and just see how those symptoms are going. And pretty much every time at this point, those symptoms eventually disappear. And just to clarify, I'm certainly not talking big things like cancer and all the rest.
Right.
But, just those annoying things that we all deal with every day, whether it's, dandruff in our hair or oily skin or just those little ones. And it's amazing the impact that has on people's lives. They're like, wow, my skin feels amazing now. All those little things. And it's as simple as changing your food or adding in certain foods that your body may need.
And each client has a different, so it's not a cookie cutter approach that says everybody's got to eat this or, having, broccoli for breakfast or whatever it's,
broccoli for breakfast. That sounds like fun.
But you say you find out what doesn't agree with them, and then build a program for them, which is
correct.
Which is really important because everybody assimilates food differently, and everybody has different needs nutritionally. And when someone
absolutely
says,
correct,
what worked for you may not work for me, and I know when my wife and I do things, the things that I have to eliminate from my diet are different than what she needs because nutritionally we just absorb foods differently and our body type.
Exactly. So the survey that I do, it's completely individual. So like I have a base template that I work off for clients, which covers everyone, but then there's always additions, and that's where the individual stuff comes in. Okay. And yeah, that's right. So no program is ever the same for that exact reason, for everything you just said.
Most of my listeners don't live in Australia. Some of them do.
Really? That's a shock.
But they still would probably want to work with you and get the benefits of working with you. Are there ways that they can work with you, even though they may not, be in downtown Melbourne?
Yeah, sure. So I've got an online training program that I run, and I've had clients, over the other side of Australia. I've had clients in New Zealand. I've had a few in America and the UK. So, I've certainly worked with clients all over the world. So they can certainly join that if they like. I've got a free Facebook group, which they are definitely welcome to join. It's just go on Facebook and search Unbreakable Living with Andy. Or just Unbreakable Living, I think, is the URL, so that should be fine. That's probably the easiest way. There's my book online if they're interested in having a bit of a read. I've never had a bad review about that book. Everyone who reads it is inspired, emotional, and every possible word you can think of when it comes to emotions. So it's been a very humbling experience, I must admit. I guess that's a pretty good starting point, isn't it?
Sure. Now, in summary, what would you say is the biggest lesson learned from your life and fitness experience that you could share with my listeners today?
There's that really old saying, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. The amount of clients that I come across who are in their 60s, 70s, even 80s and 90s, my oldest client at the moment is 96. They've all put it off. They all waited till whatever the age they were and finally decided it was time to do something about that niggling pain they've had or whatever the issue may have been. If you've got something that's bothering you every single day right now, or you want to lose some weight, or you want to feel better about yourself, just get on and do it. However you need, whatever step you need to take to start, just start. You know, if the idea of hiring somebody is too scary, great. Don't do that. Go and Google something. Google has answers to everything. Some of them may be scary, so just be mindful. But, you know, if you need to start moving a little bit more, go for a walk. Go walk some stairs, you know, walk the stairs at work instead of catching the elevator every day. Just do something little for yourself and gradually build from there. Just don't put it off for the next 10, 20 years.
Because you may not have those next 20 years.
Well, that too, and that's a whole other story. But yes, that's correct.
Yeah, you know, it's a gift, so let's make sure that we live it to the fullest. If you mentioned a couple of places, is there any other places that if they want to learn more or contact you, where should they go, Andy?
They can go check out my website, I guess, andyzagami.com. There's a whole bunch of blog posts on there with plenty of information. That's probably the best place. I am sharing a lot of information within the Facebook group. We tend to have kind of weekly mini challenges, and kind of build up on those as we go through the week, which has been a bit of fun. And the group is only about a month old at this point, so you know it's all relatively new. But you know, it's gaining some traction, so you're all welcome to come and join in. And I don't know. Maybe it'll inspire you to do something.
Well, great. Well, Andy, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time talking about what you do, who you do it with, and also about your background in terms of how that, in the transformation you've gone through, have used those life experiences to help you relate to and help others accomplish their health and fitness goals. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to have a chat.
All right. Have a great one.
Thanks. You as well.
You've been listening to Never Too Late for Fitness Radio, hosted by Phil Ferris. To learn more about the guests or resources on our show today, or to listen to past episodes, go to nevertoolateforfitness.com.